Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I ever get back. For its root for the Peruvian Bitters, Altas, the Senators, the Solons, the Cordovas, the Gilt Edge, River Cats. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Hi, I'm Sean with the Sacramento History Museum, and it's Museum Mondays, and it's July, and so we're going to talk about baseball. And in baseball, a spray hitter is someone who hits to all fields. And in the long history of Sacramento baseball, they were all over the place as far as parks. And I'm going to talk about long ago parks, long gone parks. I'm going to concentrate on semi-professional and professional baseball in Sacramento. The first mention of baseball, as far as we know, and first of all, I need to honor William McPoyle and William Shub, who provided a lot of the history. William McPoyle is a Sacramento historian and writer. William McShub, when he is not being a baseball historian, is actually a U.S. District Court judge. So I thank them for the information. But the first recorded mention of baseball that I know of, and you citizen historians, you want to fill in here, was in 1851 in the Sacramento transcript. A mention was made of baseball played in San Francisco. But it's hard to imagine that this baseball, spelled 2 words by the way, or town ball, wasn't played in Sacramento from the early times of the gold rush. The first organized baseball in Sacramento took place in 1859 when the Sacramento Baseball Club was formed. Baseball's 2 words. And the Sacramento team played against the Unions. The Unions were a team made up of Sacramento firefighters. And over that time, there was baseball played in an amateur fashion. Firefighters, iron workers, players sponsored or working for various businesses in Sacramento. In 1869, a decade later, the Cincinnati Red Stockings, the very first professional baseball team in the country, meaning that all of the players were salaried, barnstormed, meaning they traveled around the country playing pickup teams, and that included Sacramento. They played a team called the Picked 9, which were 9 players, 5 from Sacramento and 4 from San Francisco, apparently, and they played right here. This is an agricultural park. You can't tell that, but this was where the state fair, the state agricultural festivities in the fall took place. It is now Boulevard Park, bounded by B to 8th Street from north to south and from 20th to 23rd Streets west to east. And now, of course, there are these extra wide streets in this section. But this is Agricultural Park, and this is where they played. The Cincinnati Red Stockings played the Picked 9. The Sacramento Daily Union wrote rather glowingly and supportively of the local team having scored 2 runs in the first inning. They kind of buried the lead. You had to go down to the box score to see that the Cincinnati Red Stockings had scored 15 runs in their half of the first inning on their way to beating the Picked 9 50-6. The Cincinnati Red Stockings in their first season, 1869, went 57-0 in their major league or professional league baseball. So 69 was a glorious year for Sacramento despite the score of that game. In 1879, the first professional league on the West Coast, the California League, was formed, and 7 years after that, the league was expanded to include a team from Sacramento, named the Sacramento Altas, apparently named after a racehorse. Some historians also wrote the Sacramento Atlas, but I think Altas, because I've seen at least one picture with a uniform that says Altas, might be more appropriate. It also fits in nicely with Northern California or Alta California. They played their games in Agricultural Park. Not quite sure where, but somewhere in this vicinity they played at Agricultural Park. And they also played here. This is the entrance to what was Snowflake Park. We're at the corner of 28th and R Streets. Snowflake seems like an odd name for a park. I can't imagine it being used today. Snowflakes become kind of a pejorative, but in this case, it was in reference to a whiskey distilled by a Sacramento company, the Hall Lewis and Company Wholesale Grocers. Snowflake, of course, an alcoholic tie-in. Also another possible racehorse tie-in. I understand the Snowflake might have been the reference to a snowflake or a racehorse. So the park was between R and S Streets and 28th and 30th Streets. In 1890, the Alta's name was changed to the Senators. Why not? We're in the capital of California, so Senators became the name. And they also played right here. This is McClatchy Park, but at the turn of the century and well into the 20th century, this was the Oak Park Recreation Grounds. The Senators played here. There was a short drought, and then in 1898, a new sponsor, the Roostaller Brewing Company, sponsored the team, and the team name was called the Gilt Edge. Again, another alcoholic tie-in relating to popular beer that Roostaller Brewing still makes. And then the Pacific Coast League started in 1903. The league still exists. The Sacramento River Cats play in that league. The name was changed again back to Senators, and they played in the park. And then things changed even more. In 1910, an entrepreneur from West Sacramento named Edward Cripp took over the team, and he envisioned a casino and a ballpark, and he, most important, wanted it out of reach of the Sacramento police. So he built what was known as Buffalo Park here at what was originally 11th and Y Streets. It's now known as Broadway and Riverside in Sacramento. Buffalo Park named after Buffalo Brewing. And the team played as the Senators. Then in 1919, a Stockton builder named Lou Mooring took over the debts of the team and renovated Buffalo Park and called it, of course, Mooring Field. The significant thing about Lou Mooring is that in 1930, on a late spring night, he ushered in night baseball. It was the first game on the Pacific Coast under lights, and that was 5 years ahead of the Major League Baseball, which didn't start night games until 1935. Then in 1936, that really ushered in the era of minor league baseball that was affiliated with major league teams. A man named Branch Rickey, who was the business manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, came in. The team changed to Solons, which was a nickname already that newspapers here were using because it's a little shorter to fit into newspaper headlines when you're talking about legislators. Solon was an Athenian legislator, early promoter of democracy. It's just a coincidence that the brother of Collis P. Huntington, one of the four associates of the Central Pacific Railroad, was also named Solon Huntington. So they became the Solons. That was the first time. The ballpark was then called Cardinal Field. Branch Rickey, not too long later, went to the Brooklyn Dodgers, and of course in 1947, Branch Rickey was the engineer bringing Jackie Robinson as the first black player in Major League Baseball. The Cardinals left the Solon ownership, and for a year this was known as Doubleday Park, named after Abner Doubleday, the Civil War general who was popularly credited with having invented baseball, but there's no evidence now that he had anything to do with baseball. He'd rather be known for his Civil War accomplishments. A year later, a sports editor for the Sacramento Union newspaper, Richard Dick Edmonds, he rallied investors to keep a team here and to improve the ballpark. He unfortunately passed away from pneumonia, and the ballpark and the team was saved, and in honor of his efforts, it was named after him. And here is a plaque in what is now the Target Shopping Center parking lot designating home plate for Edmonds Field. Dick Edmonds is buried across the street in the Sacramento Historic Cemetery. The ballpark was destroyed by fire in 1948. rebuilt out of concrete, and the Sacramento Solons had many successful seasons, but ultimately was bought up by interests in Salt Lake and went to Hawaii. And in 1960 to 1974, Sacramento suffered a long drought without baseball. And that drought ended, except there was one problem. The Sacramento team, when it returned to Sacramento in 1974, didn't have a place to play. It had left in 1960, and by 1964, the Edmonds Field, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot, and they built a Gemco. It's now a Target store, so no place to play. So when the Eugene Emeralds of Oregon, a AAA club, decided they didn't have enough population to support the team, the Emeralds came here and became the Solons once again, and they figured out how to fit a baseball field into Hughes Stadium here at Sac City College off of 12th Avenue. We've moved further south from Oak Park Recreation Grounds. The field was halfway. The left field fence was only 233 feet from home plate. Not the regulation, it has to be at least 250 feet. That's almost the dimensions of a Little League field. They put up a 40-foot high fence at left field called Mount Sacramento, and the dimensions of the rest of the field weren't too long either. One writer called it the home run happiest place in the United States. In the first 5 games of the 1974 season, both teams had hit a combined 51 home runs, and by the first 13 games had hit 93 home runs. You could just hit a pop-up to left field, it would go over the fence. On the other hand, the left fielder was playing so close that any ground ball hit to him could mean a put out by throwing it to first base and beating the runner there. The Milwaukee Brewers were the affiliate then in the early going. There was an exhibition game here. Hammerin' Hank Aaron, who unfortunately passed away this year, he played on that team, as well as a rookie named Robin Yount, and also a player named John Vukovic, who was born in Sacramento, then grew up in Sutter Creek, and he was a player and also eventually a manager for the Chicago Cubs and the Philadelphia Phillies. And that lasted until 1978, and then Sacramento went into an even longer drought, which would not be answered again until the year 2000. The drought was long for Sacramento baseball, 1974 to the year 2000, but especially that 1974 season proved that Sacramento was hungry for professional baseball. In Hughes Stadium, that capacity was 20,000 and change, and the crowds sold out, even though the Solons in 1974 started in last place and never got out of last place to end that season. Well, in 2000, the Vancouver Canadians, a AAA ball club, was purchased and brought down here and became the Sacramento River Cats, and they played in Raley Field. Last year, the name of the park was changed to Sutter Health Park, and the capacity is 10,000, but pandemic notwithstanding, draws a pretty good crowd. They had a naming contest for the Sacramento River Cats. I remember entering 2 choices. One was Robber Barons. I thought that would be cheeky, given the associates of the Central Pacific Railroad. The other was, since the Vancouver team is called the Vancouver Canadians, if they came back down here, I thought it'd be great to call them the Sacramento Americans, named after the 2 rivers. You can tell I am not over it yet. But baseball's here. It's a San Francisco Giants affiliate now here in Sacramento, and baseball's here to stay. Tune in next week for Museum Mondays. We are going to explore more into the age when baseball was spelled with 2 words in the middle of the 19th century.